Hello and welcome as we continue our journey into Python. Today we're going to talk about file handling or file processing. A lot of times in any programming language, you're dealing with data from different systems. So you'd like to read data or data file that has data in it and you're searching through it through certain things, or you'd like to create a file and export data out to it, or search or delete the file. So there's a lot of functions that within Python, very powerful language, we're able to control the files and search through them or add to them or delete them, as we're going to see. So let's go ahead and start. What we're going to do first is just look at a simple example of how we can read data from a file. And then we're going to explain the syntax and see how we can do a lot more manipulation with files. Hope you enjoy the trip. Before we get into the syntax, let's look at a Windows environment where we have a file under D. The folder is the D drive, Bashir/Python, and there's a folder called welcome. When you open the welcome file, it says welcome Bashir to Python. So the file welcome is under the D drive /Bashir/Python. It's called welcome, and the content is welcome Bashir to Python. Now let's look at what we're going to do. We're going to open a file, and the file is in the D drive, /. The folder is Bashir, subfolder Python. The name is welcome.txt, and we're going to do R, which means we're going to read it, and then we're going to print the output of that file that we're reading. So let's go ahead and run. And sure enough, it says welcome Bashir to Python. Okay, so it read what the content of the file is, which is welcome Bashir to Python, and it printed it out. So now let's dig in and look into the syntax so we can make sense of how we can read files and write files and create and delete files and whatever manipulation that we need. It's all fun in Python. So let's start by saying that open, as you can see here, is a function that takes two parameters. It's very important when we're working with files in Python. And it usually takes two parameters. The first one is the file name, which in this case we have the path and then the file there, so the file name. And then the second one is the mode. What are you going to do with this file? There's a few modes that we have. Let's go ahead and put it on the screen so we can see the different modes. Those modes are R, which means we're reading a file. In this case, we're reading the file. A, which means append, so we're adding to the file. W, which is write, we're writing to a file. And then X, which is creating a file. All right. Now the file type itself, so we can add to those how we want to handle the file. So right now, is this a text file or is it binary? So we could add, if I added a T, to specify that it was a text file. If I was to add a B, that it's a binary, something that could, for example, has images or other forms of data types. But in this case, by default, it's a text file. So we're just going to keep it as is. Let's play with read a little bit and see how we can control what we're doing with the file or even reading from the file. I do know that I have a number of files. I can't remember if the welcome file has phone numbers or account information, or is that the welcome message that says welcome Bashir. So I'm just interested, and let's say there's hundreds of lines in there. I just want to read the first 5 characters. So in my read, the inner parameter, I could put the number 5. And notice it's not going to read all of the welcome Bashir to Python, but it's going to read just the first 5 characters, WELCO. So I don't have to go through the entire file. I can read certain lines or certain characters. So there's a lot of beautiful functionality within the read as you're reading parts of your files. Python gives you that ability. Okay, so we've read from a file. Let's get a little bit fancier and see if we can append to a file. We want to add verbiage to a file. So what we're going to do is we're going to open our file. And instead of R, which means to read, we're going to append to it. And appending basically means, so we're going to write something. So we're going to put F write. So we're writing to the file. Let's add some verbiage. All right, so we're adding some verbiage there. And then we're done. So let's close the file. Now that we close it, we're going to open the file and read it. And we're going to read everything in there. So let's remove the number 5. So if this works, we should have appended some verbiage to our file, closed it, and then as we open it, we should read the original message, which is in there. Welcome Bashir to Python. And then let's add some verbiage. So let's go ahead and run it. And sure enough, welcome Bashir to Python. Let's add some verbiage. So this kind of shows us how we can build functionality into it, whether it's adding, appending, or reading, or writing to our files. If you go to kinseytech.com and then go to the Python course and register to it, you're going to find all this code with a lot more code on examples of how to delete and how to add, append, a lot more examples. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it as we're introducing those concepts. So this in a nutshell is how Python handles files, reading, writing, creating, as well as deleting. Best of luck.